Go to Safeway, buy a bunch of crap, be safe. Joining us right now from CBS Sports. Yeah, blue's just a great look on you, brother. The one, the only, David Richard. Good morning.
Dave, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We were treated to that snow game in Cleveland last night, and really, I have Nick Chubb on only a couple of my teams, but I feel good when he scores because
Same.
we all saw him go down with a bad injury last year, missed almost all of last year, struggled to get back on the field this year, and then he came in and kablow 2 touchdowns. This doesn't help anybody that went up against Nick Chubb this week, but I'm rooting for the guy. I'm glad that he scored, and I'm happy for him. And Jameis is I think he's a good dude, despite past transgressions.
Right.
I'm happy to see the Browns have themselves a win over the Steelers.
We were actually just talking about that. I was saying there are a lot of people in the country, believe it or not, Dave, whose first Jameis Winston experience might have been last night. And this is, as you know, exactly who he was as a freshman, winning a national title at FSU, roaming the sideline, preaching, doing what he does. I mean, I think he does truly wake up every day. He's one of those guys that says, good morning, birds, good morning, snow, good morning, tree, and gives it a hug. That is who he is, lights on or lights off.
Dave, you have no idea how right you are. So every April, CBS hosts an event called The Catch. It's like a pro-am fishing competition. A bunch of NFL players, past and current, come down to South Florida to go fishing. And so we've got access to go and talk with them. And Jameis comes into the room and introduces himself to everybody. And he's bright and bubbly. And he just put a smile on everybody's face. And when I got my chance to talk to him, I went to him and said, it's a blessing to be able to walk into a room and make people happy. He just looks at me and he nods and he goes, and I don't take it for granted. So he has evolved into a class act guy who's lots of fun. And it kind of translates into this mentality that he has on the football field where he tries to have fun. And a lot of his throws, he's trying to do something that's fun and exciting. And sometimes you throw it directly to a Steeler for an interception, but that's just the way that it goes with him. And so now just moving forward for fantasy, because we should talk fantasy. I can't be here to talk about Jameis the whole time. Jerry Jeudy looks like his number one guy. Hopefully Cedric Tillman's okay. Elijah Moore, decent bye week replacement in PPR leagues. But I think that we're actually seeing Jerry Jeudy become a potential number 2 fantasy wide receiver because he's going to get good volume. And he had 14 PPR points last night. Jameis only threw the ball 27 times. That's a low for him in Cleveland since he's been there, since this year. This is only a year there. But I do think that there is upside for Jameis to have games with many, many more pass attempts. And that means many, many more targets for Jerry Jeudy.
I'm with you. We got to talk fantasy, and we will. You said to start out we had the pleasure of enjoying last night's game, and I did. It was incredibly enjoyable. There's something about snow and the Midwest, and it was so football-y as a descriptor yesterday. But when we get done with this segment, we're going to do another one called 3 for Madness, where we ask 3 questions, we get 3 answers. It's one of those radio bits to fill time.
No, it's cool. I've heard it.
And the first question, thank you. The first question I'm going to ask, acknowledging that I'm with you. I love the elements part of football, but what I don't like is when you play a 17-game season, you jockey for position, you do all the stuff you do, and then you just so happen, because of the luck of the draw, bad luck, good luck, the elements come into play. So my first question is going to be, and I actually want to run it by you. I've never done this before. Much like the NCAA tournament, much like the Super Bowl, much like a lot of other things in sports, would it be a bad thing if the NFL playoffs went to all neutral sites, tournament style?
Yeah, I think it would be bad because now you're eliminating home field advantage.
You do for the Super Bowl?
But that's the one game that I think warrants a neutral site. And we've seen games where it's not a neutral site. Remember, recently there were 2 Super Bowls where the home team played in the Super Bowl. Home team won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay and the Rams. So I'm with you on the Super Bowl, and it's been that way. And it's a great money driver for all these destination cities, and it's a driver for new state-of-the-art stadiums. to be built. It's, like Minnesota, if Minnesota built an outdoor stadium, do you think they would have had a Super Bowl? No. But they built this gorgeous indoor stadium, and they of course had a Super Bowl, and it was great. It's a great game. They're going to have another Super Bowl. New Orleans is going to have a Super Bowl. They've got a dome stadium. It's got some weird weather in New Orleans in January, so I think just the fact that it's domed helps them out. But the NFL floated the idea. I think it was during COVID or maybe right after. No, it was the year when DeMar Hamlin had his incident on the field.
Yeah.
They were trying to come up with a solution for, all right, if the Bills play this team, it's going to be a home game, but if it's not, we'll find a neutral site. And that was the NFL dipping their toe in the water on creating neutral site games for conference championships. And there was revolt on social media streets from it.
Yeah.
Because you're taking away the one thing that teams rather play for, and that's home field advantage. The Niners want to have the number 1 seed so that they don't have to leave town, and they play their games in Santa Clara, and then that's it. Then they don't have to travel. That's an advantage for them, and they earn that advantage by being the number 1 seed. You don't take that away by forcing them to fly to Atlanta to take on the Packers. Funny how I said the Packers. That's who they're playing this.
Yeah, you did.
That's my point. I'm fine with it for the Super Bowl. I'm fine with it for the NCAA tournament. It's not that way for the NIT. Hey, but I don't think it should be that way for the NFL either.
Have you heard the rumor that the NFL is having a conversation in a back room somewhere about making Las Vegas and Allegiant Stadium the permanent home of Sunday Night Football?
No.
Yeah. Heard that. Heard that that's being thrown around. Doing all Sunday night.
It's going to be a Raiders game every Sunday night.
Well, that's the thing. Either having the Raiders, obviously the road games take care of themselves, and then I don't know what they do the rest of the time. But
I'd be shocked if they did that. And I get why the NFL wants to do it. They're trying to, make destination games a thing. They're doing it with games overseas.
Yeah.
But I don't think they should do that to season ticket holders. You can't bite the hand that feeds them. Okay. And their number 1 driver of revenue is definitely television.
Yes.
CBS is a part of that. I should acknowledge that. But there's a lot of season ticket holders who buy a lot of merch, pay a lot for parking, pay a lot for hot dogs and a beer. You don't want to make them unhappy.
441140, excuse me, 916-339-1140 is the text line. The texters have questions today, David. We'll start with this from the 209. I'm on Ross St. Brown in my starting lineup. I need to start one other wide receiver. My options are Jameson Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, or Michael Pittman Jr.
It's Jameson Williams. You'll go double Lions, and it's against the Colts, and this is the matchup to do it. I don't trust Indiana's pass defense as being particularly good, and I think the Lions, the way they're throwing the ball, hyper efficiency and lots of plays after the catch. Amon-Ra, I think, has scored in 8 straight games, something like that, and Jameson Williams has boom bust potential, but the boom could be a 70-yard touchdown.
Assuming he's playing Brock Purdy or Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, whether Purdy plays or not. I've been so impressed with Bo Nix the last few weeks, and he's kind of turning into the new Brock Purdy, where you see the quarterback talent and you go, I don't know if that guy is really one of the best quarterbacks walking the planet. But you see him operate in the system that he's in. You see how he's schemed up in Denver from Sean Payton, and it works. He can do it really, really well. And last week they beat up on a bad defense. This week they're going to beat up on a bad defense that's going to be down to second stringers in the secondary. So I think that there's really an opportunity for Bo Nix to have another monster game.
Tony Pollard or DeAndre Swift?
As of now, it's Swift. Pollard really did not look good on film last week. We've seen him get 9 carries each of the last 2 weeks. His offensive line isn't doing him any favors. The only thing you can hope for when it comes to Tony Pollard is that he gets a lot of opportunities with Tyjae Spears out. I think the matchup this week for him against Houston isn't a good one. I'd rather go with DeAndre Swift and hope he breaks a couple of long runs against Minnesota.
Okay, a couple more here. Let's test your Bo Nix love. Bo Nix, Tua, or CJ Stroud?
That's an easy one. It's still Bo Nix. Bo Nix is top 5 for me. Dave.
Wow.
Really think that he's going to keep up what he's been doing. 3 touchdown potential, and it could be 2 through the air and 1 on the ground. That's definitely possible, but Raiders defense is really just such a great matchup, especially, like I said, given all the injuries that they have.
All right, and last one. This is a tough one for you because you don't know the other players, but just philosophically, this person's saying if CeeDee Lamb's out, which they obviously have, would Ricky Pearsall be worth the gamble? You don't know who else is on his bench or who's a free
No.
agent, but your thoughts on Pearsall?
No, I mean, and there's a bunch of issues now with the 49ers because
Yeah.
Brock Purdy isn't 100%. So, like, here are some receivers that I have ranked ahead of Ricky Pearsall this week. Certainly Alec Pierce in Indianapolis is a boom bust receiver. Rashad Bateman, Kendrick Bourne could be the number one receiver for New England. Not that he looks good on film, but he'll get some opportunities. Devon Vele looks like the number 2 wide receiver in Denver. He was the one receiver in Denver that didn't score a touchdown last week. And Adam Thielen is back for Carolina, and he might end up getting a lot of targets. I think the Panthers will play from behind, so a lot of throwing for Bryce Young in that game, and he has a rapport with Thielen already. So it wouldn't surprise me if Thielen gave you like 9-10 PPR points, something like that. I would start all those guys ahead of Pearsall.
So what are you covering today when you get done with us?
We've got a live show at 10 a.m. your time on CBS Sports Network. We're going to do starts and sits for non-obvious players. You don't need us to tell you to start Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. So we'll get into players that the audience legitimately has questions about, and we'll answer them along with player prop information. And then we're going to answer some tweets. Use the hashtag AskFFT and watch Fantasy Football Today live 10 a.m. on CBS Sports Network. It's available on your cable package or wherever you stream.
Wake Forest and Syracuse is what you got left. You starting to get worried about or nervous about the playoffs?
You know, all I'm thinking with the Miami Hurricanes is win out. If you win out, you're national champions. And if you don't win, then you don't deserve to be playing for the national championship. And the defense that they've had pretty much all year has been brutal. So I don't think they're going to, I think they're going to eventually lose. I just don't want it to be to Wake Forest or Syracuse. I'm hoping that Syracuse kind of steps on their own foot and that costs them the game, and Miami sneaks out of Cuse with a victory. And I hope they get by Wake Forest on Saturday.
Do you agree with me though? Can we unite on this? Rivalry games aside, that Georgia Tech is the most annoying ACC team to play because every flipping year, whether it's the George O'Leary triple option or whatever crap they're running, they come up with some sort of scud win, and they did it to you last week. They did it to us 2 years ago. I just feel like Georgia Tech's that one team that every year has at least one or two crazy upsets.
Yeah, they definitely are that team. Can I call them the most annoying team in the ACC? No, because, you know.
I said rivalries aside.
Fine.
That's I obviously.
So if I'm taking out Florida State, then maybe I could say Georgia Tech. Listen, I think Syracuse is pretty annoying too.
Syracuse is annoying. Louisville's annoying. Every 4 years, Virginia Tech's annoying. All right. Well, it doesn't matter to us. We're like 1-90. So have fun in the playoffs. Have fun representing. You represent the state of Florida well. Just Miami or the Gators. Yeah, that's one I always chew on. You can watch, read, listen, see all that stuff with Dave Richard, the finest fantasy football mind in the world, in my opinion. Not biased at all. It's actually a fact. It's an abject fact. Better Business Bureau rated him number 1. Is that real? Probably not, but it should be. Join him, watch him, follow him on Twitter, and more. Thank you, David.
Good luck in your leagues this week, Dave.
Thank you, brother. Take care. That's Dave Richard. He joins us each and every Friday, ushering in the weekend. We got a 30-second break here. When